You probably can't get a more polarizing attraction in the same show building than what we have with Maelstrom and Frozen. On one hand, you have the grassroots Epcot attraction based around education and local Norwegian lore. On the other, a Disney man made marketing golden goose. It was only a matter of time until one gave way to the other, but was it the right move? We'll discuss that and more as we enter the World Showcase, so bring your passport and marker as we cross off our first country on this list. Welcome back to the series where we compare an old and new Disney attraction to see which one is better. Today we see if we can remain unbiased as we look at Maelstrom and Frozen Ever After. But I'd like to thank my viewer King once more since he suggested this video. And if anyone else has a suggestion on the next ride we should cover, feel free to ask. Also let me know your Disney memories. I'd like to do a series in the future where we talk about our times in the parks. And if you've never been, feel free to ask a question you may have. Let's make this as inclusive as possible. But that's enough setup. Let's start talking about the history of Maelstrom. July 5th, 1988. Maelstrom was a late addition to the Epcot roster, opening 6 years after the park opened. Originally, this was supposed to be the Denmark Pavilion, but after the deal fell through, Norway gave their bid for the Scandinavian-themed land. The original name for Maelstrom was going to be Sea Venture, but was changed somewhere between March and July. Hard to say which title I like better, but the word venture or adventure is overused in Disney parks as we speak. What made this ride unique was it's the closest Epcot got to a thrill ride, seeing that all the other rides at the time were slow-moving dark rides or animatronic stage shows. It would feature 2 drops similar to Pirates of the Caribbean in California, plus a special effect that may or may not be too ambitious for its time, but we'll cover that later. Upon entering, guests were greeted by a large mural next to the loading area. It showed the progression of Norwegian history and lore, going from settlers and living trees to the eventual prosperous seafaring people they would become. Once on board your Viking longship, the boat turns to go up a waterfall. A glowing face of Odin is seen in the distance with a voice saying, "You are not the first to pass this way, and you will not be the last." There's actually a video of the last ride of Maelstrom where a cast member heartbreakingly says the same thing, but adds "you will be the last" at the end, and it just shows how heartbreaking this is for the fanbase. But anyway, back to the past. You see animatronics of Vikings looking out into the ocean. You hear the narrator say you have entered the forest of trolls and mystery, and right on cue your boat stops in front of a 3-headed troll. They make you disappear as they send the riders careening backwards and almost go over the waterfall seen outside the show building. After the near miss, your boat goes through an ice cave where you see polar bears, puffins, and an exit sign. You then stop at another mythical monster, this time a living tree. He sends you down yet another waterfall, this time falling into Norway's present. You end up in the middle of the ocean with oil derricks flanked on either side. The climax is entering a Norwegian port with the narrator stating Norway's spirit is and will always be adventure. Riders exit into a long hallway into a large troll-themed gift shop, where you can buy many Norwegian colognes, candies, clothing, and more. You could also watch a 6-minute film called The Spirit of Norway. It was mostly designed to increase tourism for the country, while also giving a little more history into the culture. The controversy came during the oil derrick scene. Rumor has it the original version had a high-powered fan and a literal Tesla coil that would simulate being dropped in the middle of a storm in the ocean. Apparently it was so rough someone fell out of the boat into the rough waters below. Also, having electricity and a Tesla coil so close to the water wasn't the best of ideas. And yes, this is supposedly the real Tesla coil that they used. The ride remained mostly unchanged throughout the years, but the dagger would come for this attraction in the form of an animated movie called Frozen. With the movie taking place in the vague Scandinavian city and the juggernaut these characters would become, it was only a matter of time before Maelstrom would freeze over. On October 5th, 2014, the inevitable happened. We had to let go of Maelstrom. June 21st, 2016. Frozen Ever After was finally unleashed into World Showcase. The queue was transformed into an outside scene of the streets of Arendelle. The loading areas moved from where the previous ride ended, but kept the same Viking longships as ride vehicles. The first scene you pass under what I think are icicles, as the riders are greeted by Olaf and Sven as he sings "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" You then pass Grandpappy as he tells the Frozen story to the young trolls. The boats slowly make their way into the Ice Palace where you see Olaf once more, this time singing for the first time in forever with Anna, Kristoff, and Sven. Turning the corner, you come face to face with Elsa as she sings Let It Go. When she opens her arms, the riders are blown backwards like the trolls did in the original ride. When the boat stops, you face Marshmallow from Frozen Fever. He sends you down a waterfall just like the living trees did in Maelstrom. The last scene is at Arendelle Castle as fireworks explode overhead. The gang is all there singing In Summer. The guests exit right behind the loading area. The gift shop is still there, but this time with a ton more Frozen merchandise, with a lot of previous items still available. The Spirit of Norway movie is no longer there. I have a love-hate relationship with Maelstrom. As a kid, the trolls and drops scared me, so I barely went on it. Seeing the waterfall in the show building as the boats almost fell over the side was enough for me to stay in the gift shop buying Toblerones. I actually have more of an affinity for the gift shop than the actual ride. It has a distinctive smell of a cologne that I don't remember the name of. I always say I'm going to buy it and then never do. As I got older, I gained an appreciation for this ride. I love the mixing of folklore and history. The ride does a great job of towing a line being serious and slightly goofy. I realize now as an adult that the drops that were supposed to make this a thrill ride are probably the equivalent of a speed bump. The narration also made this ride iconic. With lines such as the Spirit of Norway and You're Not the First to Pass This Way, make this a very quotable attraction. They're great to put on a t-shirt that I may or may not be buying if I ever go back to the parks. Frozen Ever After is a weird one for me. I'm actually not a huge fan of the movies. I thought they were okay, but I wasn't swept up in the mania that was started when it first released. With that being said, I was expecting to hate this ride, but I was pleasantly surprised with how this attraction turned out. I like how fluid Olaf's motions are, and each song flows well scene to scene. Most special effects are done well, like the portal Grandpappy makes. The facial projections on the human animatronics are just downright terrible. The highlight in my opinion is the actual queue. I love when Disney makes indoor scenes look outside, and they did an amazing job. The little shops and buildings make it feel like a quaint little village, and it's a huge upgrade from Maelstrom. Even though I did love the mural the original one had. Okay, so here's my problem. I like both of these rides equally, but I'm not going to cop out and say it's a draw. Maelstrom's first act is amazing with the trolls and polar bears, but I feel it relied too much on being Epcot's first thrill ride, rather than focusing on the ride as a whole. The oil derrick scene falls a little flat, but I do love the little sea village at the end. Frozen Ever After does a better job making the ride immersive from beginning to end. I can't overstate enough how much of a great job they did on the queue, and it actually might be the tiebreaker. Say what you will about the face projections and Disney IP in Epcot, but the purpose of Disney is to make memories with your family. And if you have kids that love Frozen, it just translates better to a more modern Disney fanbase. And I know there are Disney purists screaming at their phones right now, but it's not about our childhoods anymore. It's about making a new generation of Disney fans and making the parts more exciting for them. The only thing I ask is that we get rides on par with what we used to have, and Frozen Ever After fits the bill and more. But that'll do it for this episode. But let me know what you think. Did I get it wrong and Maelstrom was King of Norway? But either way, join me next week as we take the monorail to the Magic Kingdom. So bring your scuba gear as we go under the sea. But drop a like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if I earned it, and as always, thank you so very much for watching.